hope that I do contribute a little bit to helping our seniors live the best life that they possibly can, and make them feel like that they are important and that they can finish their life on this earth with dignity. Um, I want to start out telling you that it all started when I was a little girl. My mother was a nurse and did most of her nursing career in a nursing home. So me, I'm the oldest of three girls. I've got two younger sisters. Would visit my mother. She usually worked the evening shift from 3 to 11. So we would go to the nursing home and visit my mother, and also got to be around people that are in nursing homes, which are individuals that are on walkers, they're in wheelchairs, they're in the bed, they're using all kinds of walking devices. So we all three became very comfortable in that world. We were okay because seeing someone, especially a small child, seeing someone in a wheelchair can be a little scary. It can be a little overwhelming because you don't really quite understand what all that's about. But we all three became just very comfortable being around seniors and the elderly people. You know, seeing an adult lady walking around with a baby doll, that she really felt that like that was her true baby. That we were totally okay with that. That we understood and accepted that that was where she was in her life. Um, I believe that those experiences as a child kind of is what set me on the course of doing what I do today as far as trying to help seniors. I have always had such a special place in my heart for seniors. I truly love to visit with them. I love to hear their stories. I want to know about their childhood and where they met their spouse and how they had children and their careers and everything that happened to them. All that is so important to me. And I do find that when I start asking those questions about that, their face kind of lights up because they begin to have conversations and think about things that they haven't thought about in a very, very long time. Where they went to high school. I mean, and these are individuals that are, in their late 90s. So they haven't thought about where they went to high school in a long time, and really haven't had many people ask about their life and what they did, as a young person, and if they were in the military or if they went to college, or how they met their spouse. I have met so many wonderful people in this senior healthcare, especially over the last probably 8 or 9 years. I mean, doctors and lawyers and judges and teachers and nurses. I want to share with you one of the more surprising appointments that I had, and this actually happened before COVID. I got a phone call from a lady that had gotten my information from her home health nurse, which, by the way, is about where 90% of my business comes from. Home health agencies, home health nurses, hospice nurses, they know my clientele. They know who's homebound. They know who isn't driving anymore. And a lot of times while they're at their home on a visit, taking care of their medical needs, a lot of times the conversation will turn to, I would love to get a manicure, but there's just no way I can go. I am on oxygen. I can't leave my home. I really would love to get that. That's something that was so important to me. The home health nurse, Tim or Kelsey, will say, why don't you call Cindy? She'll come and do it for you. And if the home health nurse, the home health agency tells you to call this person, that carries a lot of weight because they trust him, they trust Kelsey, they trust Mary Lou. If Cindy tells me to come, Lynn, I got a referral from Lynn just this week. If Lynn tells me to call this person to come, you can count this person's going to be good. She's going to be dependable and honest and trustworthy and have her license and she knows what she's doing. But back to my story. I got a phone call, like I said, from a lady that had gotten my information from a home health nurse. The appointment was for a manicure pedicure in her home. The day came for her appointment, and when I arrived, I was welcomed into her home. She was an older lady, but as I walked into her home and began to unpack my manicure and pedicure stuff, I immediately observed the amounts of Elvis memorabilia in her small condo. I mean, it was massive. And I just thought, okay, she's a big Elvis fan. we're here in Memphis, and she was in her early 90s, and I thought, okay, she's someone that was a big Elvis fan. Then I began noticing framed photos scattered all around her condo, and there were photos of her and Priscilla Presley. There were photos of her and people that were in Elvis's immediate circle, Red West and Klein, and all of these people that I knew were in his circle. And I said, my usual questioning, I said, you're a big Elvis fan. And she kind of laughed and looked at me and said, yeah, I was his personal nurse the last few years of his life. And I said, really? And she said, yes. And she said, I wrote a book about that time, and I'll give you a copy and I'll sign it for you. This is the book. I was like, what? I almost fell off my stool. I'll pass this around. Y'all can kind of look at it if you want to. I replied, I would love that. Please, I'd love to have the book you wrote about your time with Babe, because that's what she called him, was Babe. And that began a friendship that lasted until her health declined to the point that she was unable to live by herself anymore. I was so excited every time she'd call me, and she called me about every 4 to 6 weeks to come and do her manicure and pedicure. But I was so excited because I knew I was going to spend about an hour and a half with her and learn something new. She was going to tell me something that I didn't know about her life, about her husband and her home, about her time with Elvis. And, I could go in another hour of all the stories that she told me from the time she met him, the very first day she met him at Baptist downtown, what that journey was like and that experience and how all that went, until the day she went to the emergency room when the ambulance had brought him from Graceland to the hospital. And I mean, just that whole journey, and how he impacted her life and how she impacted his life. He would never call her by her first name. He always called her Miss Cock. Her last name was, or her first name was Mary, and last name was Cock, C-O-C-K-E. But everyone around her called her Marion, and he would always call her Miss Cock. And she said, Elvis, after about a year, so why don't you call me Marion? He said, Miss Cock, if my mom heard me call you by your first name, she would be my behind. So he never, all the way till the end, he never referred to her to anything except Mrs. Cock. But again, just like I said, that was just one of the really nice examples of how I've had the honor and privilege to get to know these clients. I've got several clients that are veterans. I love to visit with them, to talk about their time in the military, how they were at 18 years old introduced to poker, cigarettes, and gin. I've heard that story so many times. I have a client that I just recently lost, bless his heart. He would have been 100 on the end of July. But he loved gin. And I said, tell me about how your love for gin came. He goes, I was 18 years old and I was in another country and we wanted something to drink, and that was all the bar had was gin. So that started me on the course of drinking gin. But again, just listening to the stories of, those young men and, how, being in the military and their experiences, how that kind of changed their lives. And again, sometimes they want to talk about those stories, and then sometimes they don't want to talk about those stories. But it was just, like I said, it has been so rewarding to be a part of their life. And if I can make them smile a little bit, if I can make them be happy a little bit and feel like they're important. So many times our seniors just feel like they're invisible. Their kids are so busy, their grandkids are so busy, and no one really has time to, stop by and talk to them. So they really, it makes them feel important for you to ask questions about them. Real quick, because I'm watching my time over there with Miss Sherry over there. Real quick. So like I said, if I can do anything to make their day a little brighter and make them smile, they go through so many challenges with health issues and losing their independence. So if there's something I can do to make that a little better, I will. that is how I got involved with Silberts. Silberts is an adaptive clothing and footwear company. All the clothes and shoes are for individuals that have difficulty dressing themselves, no matter what the reason. If they've had a stroke, if they've got Parkinson's, if they have got dementia or Alzheimer's, if they just have arthritis, they've had shoulder surgery, and they just have a difficult time dressing. That's what these clothes and shoes are for. For someone that doesn't have any trouble getting dressed, maybe we kind of take that for granted. But some of our seniors and some of our friends have difficulty dressing themselves, and it can be such a challenging thing for them. I'm just going to show you a few of the things real quick, and then I can just kind of pass them around. This is actually one of our men's shirts. Really nice shirts. You could wear to Bible study. You could go to church. You could go anywhere in this shirt. And this shirt looks like it is buttoned up, but it's magnets. Wow. So I was doing a manicure on a gentleman the other day, and he said, Cindy, don't cut my fingernails too short. I hardly ever hear that, don't cut them too short, especially from a man, because they want you to cut their nails real short. But he said, don't cut my nails too short. And I said, why do you not want me to cut your nails too short? And he said, because I have a hard time getting the buttons buttoned on my shirt, because I've got to have a little bit of nail to get under the button. With this particular shirt, he wouldn't have any trouble doing that. And again, no one knows that that's not buttoned except him. And even the cuts, once again, is a magnet. I've also partnered with a local company, a good friend of mine that has a t-shirt, and for a few extra bucks for dad or grandpa, we'll put their initials on them. Just, to kind of personalize it a little bit and make it nice. I'm just going to take that there. If y'all want to pass those around, you can. But back to how I got involved with Silberts is because of their shoes. Because of doing pedicures all day long, all over the city, I see my clients struggling with finding shoes. They say, Cindy, I can't just go to Walmart or Target and buy a pair of shoes. I can't just go to Breakaway because I've got arthritis. I've got neuropathy. I've got, a couple of toes that are doing some, kind of weird, janky things. Or I need a wider toe box in the top. So I reached out to the company and I talked to them. I talked to the sales manager, told her who I was and what I did, and some of the struggles and frustrations that my clients have with shoes. And so we started talking, and about after 3 or 4 months of conversations, Zoom calls, she wanted me to meet the CEO of the company, and I did. And we got to talking. He was very excited because they do not have the only presence they have in the United States is online. They're based in Canada. We do have a warehouse right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, where all the products are shipped from. But they really wanted to try a sales approach with an actual salesperson. And apparently the timing just was right. And I just kind of fit right into their clientele. Because again, I see all of my clients that struggle with, finding shoes to wear. So anyway, so I partnered with them. It was not a hard decision because I could stay in senior healthcare. I could continue to try to make the lives better of my seniors and make things not so frustrating for them. We've got over 3,000 products. Like I said, clothes and shoes. This is just another nice little shirt. Once again, magnet. So it's just so easy for someone that, and if for someone that has to have assistance in dressing, and it takes 30 to 45 minutes to get dressed with help, with these products, you can cut that down to 10. And for ladies, that means they've got more time to pick out earrings or a bracelet or lipstick or work on their hair a little bit more. And for gentlemen, maybe a little more time to kind of groom a little bit. So, like I said, it was just an easy fit. And we've got clothing. We've got a whole lot for clients that are going through recovery. If they've just had hip surgery, they've had knee surgery, or they've had a fall and they're in the rehab department. A lot of times one of the phone calls or the conversations that someone in rehab has with their family members is, you got to buy some clothes. Because my normal clothes are not going to work while I'm going through this rehab process. We got a whole lot of recovery clothes. We have clothes that for our clients that are bedridden, they never get out of bed because of their medical. We can totally dress them without. And again, like I said, that individual that maybe is paralyzed on the side from a stroke. I mean, you can easily dress that person. And once again, they get so frustrated because of how long it takes to get dressed that sometimes they just say, to heck with it, I'm just gonna stay in my pajamas. That's not good. They need to get dressed. Getting dressed and kind of getting yourself ready for the day is going to kind of help their attitude, make them feel better, make them be happy that that they got friends coming over and that they feel good about themselves instead of being in their pajamas that they've been in for the last 3 days. But like I said, those of us that do not have any trouble with dressing, we kind of take that for granted. But like I said, these products will help make their lives so much better. Their families, their caregivers, anyone that's helping them do that. Lastly, I just want to challenge each of you. If you would, in your busy day, take a little bit of time to acknowledge a senior. Please do that. You would maybe at the bank, you may be at Starbucks, you may be at Hobby Lobby, you may be at Kroger. But especially if you see someone that is on a walker, or in a wheelchair, or on a scooter, please just go up to them and acknowledge them and just tell them hello. Just tell them hi. I mean, again, so many of our seniors just feel so invisible. They feel like that they, especially in today's world, especially with technology, that it's just passing them by. They're just in a fog. They don't quite understand technology. They don't understand AI. They don't understand emails. They do not understand when the doctor's office wants them to update their health form online, as opposed to going to the office and sitting there in the lobby and doing that. They're like, what do you mean they want me to update it online? That's very confusing and frustrating for them. But if you could, like I said, if you can, please acknowledge a senior, definitely a veteran. And if you can maybe just get them to smile, say something that's going to make them smile, either compliment them, what they're wearing, or the coffee they're getting, or just for being here. So like I said, if you can, just maybe try to make them smile just a little bit. It'll make you feel better. I promise it will. Any questions? Yes.
Sometimes childcare is almost medical.
Mm-hmm.
So can you help out those individuals that might have less than perfect toes? They need
all the time. And as long as I've been doing it, there have only been 2 cases that I felt like that I was in the right in referring them to a podiatrist. I'm very, very mindful of my diabetic clients, because you do have to be so careful. And a lot of times with diabetes, you sometimes lose feeling in your feet, and unless you could have a wound or a sore on the bottom of your foot and you don't even know it until it already. So it's good if you do have someone in your life that is a diabetic, make sure that if they can't look at their feet and examine them, that someone in the family or somebody close by or caregiver can do that. But like I said, I take care of a lot of clients that have neuropathy, they've got arthritis, they have got diabetes. So you have to, be real careful about making sure. But I definitely would not hesitate to refer them to a podiatrist if they needed to see one, especially if there's an infection. Yes.
On your adaptive clothing, do you have a catalog, or is it?
I do have a catalog. I do apologize. This is my fall winter catalog, and the catalog is 58 pages long. We are just getting our spring summer catalog printed, and we've condensed it to 30. We're trying to do a little better job with our footprint as far as recycled paper and doing some things with some recycled ink. But the flyer that I gave you, it's got my website on there. You can go to it. You can look at the website. It will show you all the products and stuff. The catalog should be here hopefully by next week, is what the sales manager told me. But like I said, this clothing line is for people with arthritis, dementia, or physical challenges. So anyone that has difficulty dressing, these products for them. Thank you.